We are joined wonderfully by Kimi Eisele. We just spent the last, I don't know, hour running around in Red Dead Redemption 2, checking out the environment. We saw the climate scientists, among other things. I do think Dutch Vanderlyn maybe had one last thing to say before we jump into this interview. I don't... Is Dutch here? Dutch Vanderlyn?
Yeah. Dutch Vanderlyn's here, and this doesn't count as a sub goal. All right, where was I? We can't always fight nature. We can't fight change. We can't fight gravity. We can't fight nothing. My whole life, all I ever did was fight.
Oh, thank you for that moving line of dialogue from Dutch Vanderlyn, which we thought kind of fits talking about the climate as much as it fits talking about the death of the Wild West. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to start the interview that way. Are you ready to formally begin the interview, Kimi?
I'm totally ready.
Okay, Dom has one thank you to give, I think, for our whole team to help contextualize the interview before I ask you your first question.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, Dom,
Kimi,
we sent Dutch away, so Dom could.
Oh yeah. Dutch is doing crimes. Dom is back, co-hosting. Kimi, chat. You see me and Daisy, and you think, oh yes, the two of them, they're Folkwise, and they must write all my questions. But what if I told you that's not true? What if I told you we had an entire team of Folkwise interview sleuths who very intrepidly, ruggedly, and beautifully researched the guests, put together the questions. So, chat, Kimi, if you've got a question you like that makes you go, huh, good question, or how do they know that about me? Don't think Daisy, think the sleuths.
Awesome.
And if you have the sleuth emote, of course, drop it in chat too. This is one of our new emotes that we've added in the last 6 months, so check it out. Kimi, first question for you. We're going to start off with some grounding stuff. So, how do creative geographies and folk life intersect?
Wow. Dang. Okay, guys. That's jumping right into the heart of it. How about what did you have for breakfast today?
I mean, that's great too.
I actually had creative geographies for breakfast.
I had Folklife for breakfast. Yeah, we had Folklife. Yeah. So yeah, same.
Wow.
So, well, I think it's not something I ever have really thought about intentionally, but I think of creative geographies as ways that we think about, perceive, render, experience space and place, and that could be the way geographers think about space and place. That could be the way artists think about space and place. That could be the way retail designers think about shape and space. So I think that that way of thinking about geography intersects with folk life because it will touch the ways that we have cultural expression. It'll touch the things that we do. I think the things we make, say, and do are informed by where we live, informed by our experiences of geography and how we perceive, render, spend time in place.
That makes sense. That's that was wonderful. You're making me think about the ways that we talk about these subjects of place and the creativity in them. It's not unique unto a specific discipline. I just like how a lot of your work is answering these questions through an intentional focus on the geography of it. And some people might be like, geography? I thought we were talking about folk life and folk art or whatever. And I thought that was a great answer for seeing how they come together in your observation. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, because so many folk traditions are they just arise out of place and what's available, and history, culture, environment. So, Christmas trees come from the sort of the origin of that comes from places where there are trees that are and then we spin that in different places. You know, if we celebrate Christmas, we might put up an agave chalk or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I love a Christmas cactus. I love a Christmas palm. I'm from Southern California, so I think a lot about palm trees and surfing Santa Claus, right? Because Santa doesn't ski, Santa surfs because the place is influencing that all the time.
Right.
That's cool. Yeah.
Right. Or maybe he's
skateboarding.
too.
So he sometimes skateboards, and sometimes it's shirtless because trunks. Anyway, it's part of it. It's warm, right? He doesn't need his coat. You know.
I like it.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. That's a great example. Another question for you. How does your artistic practice, your personal artistic practice, inform your approach to public cultural work and vice versa? So, yeah, there's a lot we can unpack there.
Yeah, and I love that question. I think it's also something that I'm really working on. Like, I have often felt that those are separate entities, so I'm looking for the ways that they bridge. I think that you know, the work that I've brought to the Southwest Folklife Alliance, the organization that I work for in Tucson, that also does local, regional, and national work. You know, in the last few years, I definitely have brought my interest in ecology and environment and climate to that work. You know, we were we've long considered place as important. You know, we have run 50 years of a local Folklife festival called Tucson Meet Yourself. Just celebrated its 50th anniversary. That is really rooted in the traditions and culture of this place, the place of Tucson and Southern Arizona, both indigenous and, you know, newcomers from, you know, very recent and not so recent. So the work has long been rooted in place, but to bring like a specific climate or environment lens has been just something that that I care about, and so I've brought that to my work with the organization, and it's like so inherently connected to me because of what we were just talking about. So, so I guess I can talk about a kind of a relatively recent example of that, and that's just these projects called Climate Lore, where we've been really looking at the intersection of culture and climate, and we've done it in a variety of ways, primarily through our online journal, Borderlore, where we've recorded about those intersections and invited others to also share their story. So, for example, basket weaver who are having difficulty finding some of the plant materials, or they're having to think a little bit differently about what might come. Fire and sort of the cultural story of fire, both in terms of like, you know, what's the sort of national forest life of fire, and then what are sort of more indigenous practices of dealing with fire here. So our most recent climate lore, or our new climate lore initiative that we're starting, is working with two different communities. One is in Anthony, New Mexico, and El Paso, and the other is here on the Tohono O'odham Nation. And so we're kind of like, a plat that's supporting two organizations to do their own oral history work, gathering oral histories about climate, and how climate is and the stories about climate in these two communities. So it's really like, it's supporting organizations that have relationships in those communities to start telling and gathering those stories. So that's part of the answer, but I can keep going or go somewhere else. Yeah.
I have kind of two follow-ups / you already were predicting another kind of question that we had. So okay. I'm going to lay it out for you without letting you have to like repeat it. But in relationship to your Southwest Folklife Alliance's Climate Lore, we were curious how that project, I mean, you sort of said it in so many words, but maybe you could elaborate a little bit on how that project supports relationships between land and people on the desert borderlands, and specifically their responses to climate challenges that they're experiencing. Maybe you alluded to it a little bit with fire, for example, but we're looking at like how they're responding to climate challenges and how this particular project supports those.
Yeah, and we're just this climate lore has had several iterations, and so this new gathering of oral histories will really look very closely at how two desert communities, one in the Sonora Desert, one in the Chihuahua Desert, are understand, how people in those communities are understanding that. In terms of some of the past stories that we've published, shared, some examples are the making of adobe bricks. And we part of what the work we do at the Folklife Alliance is we support traditional artists and fund them to carry on their traditions and pass them along. And so one year we supported an adobe brick maker who has done a lot of work in national parks and national historic sites that have adobe structures. And so he's worked to figure out like how to preserve these. And so then that involves scientists looking at like 100-year storms, which are like very heavy rainstorms that happen every 100 years but are happening more often, and how vulnerable those structures would be to that kind of weather event, and what does that mean, and how does that change the way you think about keeping those structures alive. So that's an example. I mentioned the plants and sort of finding plants for particular baskets or things like that, and what happens when those become less available. And the other ways we've really been exploring climate lore is really like connections that people have with the natural world. So it's not always like climate in sort of a very direct way, but like one of my favorite stories that we printed, published last year was a writer who was part of this community cohort where we gathered and shared ideas, and he got really into trail cams and putting a trail cam out to look at wildlife. And so I was like, well, why don't you look at like what's the culture of trail cam operators? Like, who are these people? Are they just conservation organizations? Are they just like, who are they? And what lexicon of that? And like, what does it mean to set up a camera, and how do you do it? And so he really just, took it to heart and sort of figured out and, kind of started an investigation into like folklore of this particular hobby, which is just so delightful, because then you just like, you look at animals, but there's this whole community of people who are doing that and sharing it and posting it online. And so there's some of the other ways that we've been playing with it and exploring it.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's a lot. Yeah, that's really cool. Those sound like some really great initiatives, like just for the communities, like just kind of creating access for those spaces and celebrating them and making space for them to continue. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'll just mention really quickly another story that just came out in last week's Borderlore. There were 3 climate stories, and one of them was about like the use of performance or looking at artistic performance as ritual, as like an embodied practice that helps us to sense and feel that crisis differently. Like, what can artists, how artists can be useful for that, and giving us those tools. And then the other 2 stories were people with disabilities. One was by someone who is divergent, and she wrote about the practice of acoustic ecology. So recording sounds in the natural world as like a way that she could then learn to understand her autism and process sound differently. It was just like this very a focused way of listening for someone who has been challenged in terms of processing sound. But that like being outside was a way for her to find a way through that. And then another writer who also shared rituals of climate change from a disability justice perspective. And when I asked her to talk a little bit about how the climate crisis, felt deeply, or, how people with disabilities are vulnerable to the climate crisis, she said, let me flip that question and tell you about the ways that people with disability have offerings for us in thinking about the climate crisis. And the offerings are this notion of vulnerability that people with disabilities experience all the time and are practiced in, and also this notion of limits. And that if you're living with disability, you also understand your limits. And these things that people without disability take for granted. And so there's just these beautiful invitations to think about vulnerability and limits in terms of climate and how we will move through it, that come out of that community, which are just really, I just find really heartening and helpful.
This sort of relates back to the initial question that sort of inspired our pathway onto Southwest Folklife, but I like that we've kind of become cyclical in conversation and are just letting it flow. But I was curious if you could tell our audience a little bit more about like your public artwork or just your artwork in general as your personal practice, because from what we found in behind the scenes, you do dance, watercolor, drawing, writing, you do a lot of different stuff. And if you could tell us about maybe like one project or some of the things that are speaking to you in this moment, that would be awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Great. I'm a writer. I write nonfiction, but I'm mostly writing fiction right now. I'm working on my second novel. And that has ecological themes and cultural themes and takes place partly in the Sonoran Desert and partly in Southeast Alaska. And in my visual art, I've been really exploring water adaptation, like creatures of the Sonoran Desert and how they adapt to living with little bit of water, not much water. So I did a series last fall for the U.S. Water Alliance that they had their like One Water Summit. And that's so awesome. It was fun to do some illustrations for that. And then I've been like kind of right now, I'm sort of into the coyotes. There's a litter of coyotes that was born last spring in the wash right outside. I live very close to campus, and they're in an urban area, but it's a flood control basin. So there are these large basins that have been revegetated, with like not like pristine desert, but like urban desert. And so these coyotes were born in May. So all the neighbors, there's a bike path, a walking path around these basins. We've been watching them and, kind of like taking care of them, but not in any like inappropriate way. We've just sort of tending to them and noticing them. And it's been a really beautiful way to connect to neighbors also. So I've just been like trying to figure out how to collaborate with them. And I mean, I don't know what the folk life really of coyotes is like, but I know that they travel in packs. They depend on free water, that they find, and they have communication systems, and they talk to each other, and they're always responding to the sirens here. So at the Water Alliance, I met this printmaker named Stolen, and he's an incredible printmaker. He was doing some prints with polluted water in New York riverways. And so he's talking about collaborating with rivers, and I've collaborated with cacti before, and I've collaborated with other species, but I just was like, oh, how could I collaborate with the coyotes? So I've just been like, it's not very sophisticated yet, just been like, putting paper out, seeing what kind of prints I could get from them.
But that's I need
to figure...
Sorry not to interrupt. I'm just thinking the experimentation is the fun part of, like, that's like, it doesn't need to be rocket science to collaborate. Like, it could just be I don't know, like, maybe they'll
seeing what I get.
we'll step on the paper I put out.
I've gotten some, like, they definitely are interested in the smell, so they've peed on the paper. I've gotten their tracks on paper. I need to figure out a way to kind of like get them to spin some clay or something, because it's pretty sandy out there and stuff doesn't like stick to the paper. So, and I don't want to like produce some foreign inch.
Sure.
So that's been really fun. And then just thinking about like hybrid human coyote hybrid forms. That's kind of my like latest thing I've been drawing.
Nice.
So it's fun. Yeah. It's fun thinking about like the intersections between cultural practice and like animal culture, and I know there's a lot that's been written on that, and it's not something I've studied, but talking about whales earlier during the game,
yes,
that whole like culture of communication and song, and I don't know that, like, I know what different coyote sounds mean necessarily, but they definitely have different sounds for different things. So a naturalist would be able to speak to that more than I can, but it's fun to play with.
Yeah, and fun to think with, and fun to just take a risk and say, like, what if they do have culture?
Yeah.
Or like, what is that? How does that change me, or how does that change how we think about things? That's awesome. Okay, I have one more bigger question for you, and then I have a couple funsy questions that are a little bit shorter to answer. Okay. What are some ways that you think culture workers can address the climate crisis more readily in their research and within their communities that they're involved? It doesn't have to be the be-all, end-all, but just like maybe something a culture worker who might be watching the show could take away with them.
Yeah. Well, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is to like pay attention, like to have a like I saw that Dom put in the chat a minute ago about Big Jim Griffith.
Yeah.
And he started Tucson Meet Yourself, the festival I was talking about earlier, and we were just talking about it the other day with my colleagues. And this as folklorists too, it's just that, well, how do you do folk life research? Like you go to the bar, you go to the cafe, and you just sit there and you hang out and you talk to people. Like that was Big Jim's field work.
Yeah.
So I think similarly, the way to like more readily address the climate crisis. I mean, there's so many different kinds of ways depending on how you where you live and what kind of urgency you feel. But I think just like that, in terms of like the local response of just paying attention to what's happening right outside, what's changing, what are your neighbors doing differently, what are your neighbors seeing, that kind of feels like a way, and then apply that to your particular cultural work, like if you're a DJ, what does that mean in terms of what music play, and what you say between your sets, or if you're if you make zines, I mean, people still make zines. How do your zines address that, or even just like the very personal, I think sometimes that sense of like the climate crisis is this big thing, but it's also right inside us, like we are living it as individuals. It's hot as hell here in the summer. It's really hard to stay here in Tucson every summer, and so it's like your body cooks, and it always has cooked in the summer, but it's like, wow, as summers get longer and hotter and drier, like what does that mean for my body to be how will that change how I move? How will that change? So like I think that there's like larger cultural and political implications that, and actions that people can take. But I guess I'm always like, what's the very intimate way matters to you, and then to go from there, because it's easy to like, well, not easy for some people, but I mean, it's easy to latch on to larger movements, but like,
Sure.
if it's not being formed by like your own lived experience or your own fears or your own love, it might not last.
Yeah, just paying attention, thinking about how you're involved in the larger conversation as just one piece of this like huge puzzle. Yeah. That does matter and does have influence. Not that is sort of like I don't know, like you get existential dread about it, but like that it's powerful to understand that you have a role and a relationship with that. And that is influential of your work. And then that's awesome. Yeah.
And then I think the connecting, like I'm always like asking, my friend Selena, like another folklorist, like, is this Folklife? Like, is standing next to a saguaro Folklife? And she's like, well, like if I stand next to a saguaro by myself, is that Folklife? And she's like, Selena Morales. She, she's like, well, it really is in community shared groups, So then there's that thing of like, okay, how can I bring the neighborhood to this desire or experience, or what is already happening in terms of cultural response to this? So like get people at the table.
Awesome. Well said. I think that makes a ton of sense.
Can I actually?
Yeah, go for it. Jump in.
This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like, Daisy. No, it made me think about kidney stones, right? That you were talking about, like climate change is like a systemic thing, but it's something you can feel on the inside. Like, wasn't there like a study a couple years ago that like kidney stones are going to skyrocket as climate change gets worse?
Wow.
Yeah. So like
I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Because I think there's more kidney stones in arid climates to begin with, and there was like a study that came out that said like, get ready, more people are like kidney stones are going to increase worldwide, and that's like literally inside your kidneys. You'll be able to feel it. Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, it makes me think about. Like,
I did read. Like,
okay. Go ahead.
Well, I was reading about, because I like recently like went through menopause, and I was just like having hot flashes, and it's like, this is hard, hot flashes like in the summer, and there is research about like women and sort of the risk of hotter climates and exacerbating hot flashes. It's like, I think when I looked like 3 years ago, there was like one study, so maybe there's more now, but those personal health responses are important.
Absolutely.
There was.
All right, I got a couple funsy questions for you.
Okay.
What is a subject that you use in one of your favorite paper cuttings?
Oh. I haven't made a paper cutting in a long time, but I often, I'm looking at one right now, actually. I often, in that time when I was making them, very relevant to what we were talking about, would think about like what's inside.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
The one I'm looking at is of a figure, and there's like a sea inside. There's like seahorses, a jellyfish. She happens to be crying also. Oh. So, but there's like an ocean. There's an ocean inside her. Speaking of whales again.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So there's a lot of that, which is like connected also to the outer world. That the outer world is in us.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, when we were coming up with these questions, we got really excited discovering this, but We want to know where your rainbow chrome rollerblades are and if you're still rollerblading these days.
Oh, roller skates.
Yeah.
The rainbow, the hologram.
Yeah,
silver
you have like
ones.
those like hologram, like
Those?
chromy kind of skates. Yeah, those are so
Yeah.
cool.
I still have them, but I have not been on my skates in like a year, and I feel sad about that. But it definitely was like a pandemic hobby. I
Yeah.
was really into skating as a kid, and it was so interesting getting back on the skates, like as an older person, like older than I was when I was on them, and just, I have like a pretty good balance from dance stuff, but it's like a whole other. And quad skates
Yeah.
are very different from rollerblades.
Yeah.
Um, the friction is different. It's harder to stop. But I had to work really hard to just like have fun and not be like, I'm not as good as I used to be when, and I just be like,
Yeah.
we're doing this for leisure. This is leisure. You don't have to be great, It's just like have fun. So it's a very good lesson in having hobbies.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, everybody should have hobbies. They should try to make time
Everyone
for
should have
hobbies.
hobbies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And be bad at things.
Yeah. Be bad at things. It's okay to make mistakes and to experiment and have something not work. That's part of the process. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard for perfectionists to do that, but I do know that that's necessary.
Totally. Yeah. Okay, what animal would you like to explore in your next performance art project? Say you were planning one. What animal would you do this with?
Oh. I mean, right now it's just all about the coyote, but I have not like had I have not had performance brain turned on at all. So it's an interesting
That's
question.
fair.
Like I don't know where I don't know where that part of my brain is right now. It's very dormant, and which is okay. Like I'm focusing on other stuff, but it's kind of fun to think about. I don't have a strong leaning right now about that.
That's totally fine. We just noticed that you had some fun coyote stuff, of course, but you also maybe had some like deer like masks or some other things, and I was like, maybe this is part of a shift here or something.
Yeah. I did to that end. I did so I made masks several years ago for a performance, and I made them and then the cost, this is kind of a fun story. I made them with some help from other artists, and they were for a performance. The costumes that we wore for these animals were recycled from a performance I'd done several years earlier with a costume designer who made these Emily Dickinson. The performance was all about Emily Dickinson.
Mm-hmm.
So the costumes were like these 19th century, torn, like kind of Emily Dickinson, but like slanted. And so I recycled all those costumes for these animals. And then these animals like showed up at all kinds of protests in Southern Arizona. These animals went to the border wall when Trump was expanding the border wall. I just loved this notion that these animals were, making their presence known and sort of saying like, this wall is devastating for us, but that they were also wearing Emily Dickinson, like that's recycled cool. Dickinson costumes. I know there's just something really like poetic about that. So so I do have like the coyote mask for that project. I feel like it needs an upgrade. Or for those masks, it could handle an upgrade. So maybe that'll be the next thing.
That's awesome.
Can I say, Kimmy, that I understand why you and Daisy get along like this, because I don't have my performance brain turned on. I did a double take because I'm like, that's a sentence that comes out of Daisy's mouth, and it was weird hearing it out of the guest's mouth.
So true.
And I was shocked.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, sometimes like this is part of my brain. Yeah, I know we should do something.
You really should.
We really should, for real. I gotta finish my dissertation first. I'm almost there.
Almost there.
I'm almost there. This
Okay.
summer. I'm almost there.
Because then we could do
Yeah.
something mycolorian.
Yeah, it could be fun.
Yeah.
We could. I mean, they're microbes are in our guts. The fungus is all
Ah.
part of us, right? Like there's something there for sure we could do.
Yeah.
As it is in
Ooh,
all
I like it.
animals and lots of plant life. But anyway, a final funsy question before we have like a fun little game to play. Do you have
Okay.
any tips for just cultivating creativity at home? Like if somebody out there's like, I'm not creative, I don't know where to start. Do you have any ideas for that?
Well, it's funny because like I need that too. Sometimes I can
Yes.
be like so into my
Yeah.
like I'm just so into like finishing this novel that I'm like not that creative. And so I actually just finished Wendy McNaughton's and you could meet her on Instagram. She's an illustrator for the New York Times
Awesome.
and elsewhere. And I just did her 30-day drawing 10 minutes a day drawing class. Like it was
that's
in
cool.
the month of January. It was just like these incredible, really you were supposed to set a timer, but I would always like go over. But like a 10-minute drawing, like blind contour where you're like closing your eyes or you're not looking. And then actually some of the ones where like you actually did draw with your eyes closed, and I love those. Or like doing stuff with like little circles or just very like doodles, very it's like wonderful assignments that take you 10 minutes. And it was so pleasurable and fun and helpful to just not be precious, and then I had to face preciousness when it came up. And then but I think things like that, like a little ritual of something. For me, it's like doing something every day. It doesn't have to be like, okay, I'm gonna write for 4 hours every day, but just that 10-minute thing was really just really powerful. 30 days. So I would recommend something like that, and it could just be like, oh, write down 10 sentences and then pick one and write a little bit more. Or, there's a million prompts online for stuff like that. But...
Don't hesitate to use a creativity prompt. is honestly a good one, because sometimes you just need somebody else to give you the idea for what to do, and then the doing it is like the important or the changing part, the part that changes you. That's cool.
Yeah, a little constraint. We need a little constraint to push against.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that concludes the formal portion of our interview today, but we have one thing left to do, which is really fun. I think it's fun. I hope you think it's fun. I'm going to switch over screens for a second. Dom, would you help explain what a starter pack is?
Oh my
if you
god,
don't know what that is.
I don't have as much experience explaining these as tier lists, but this is a new thing we're doing on the show now, Kimmy. Kimmy, have you ever made or seen a starter pack meme?
Like, what context? Like,
perfect. This will be fun then, I think.
This will be fun then. Starter packs, yes.
I don't know what you're talking about, except it's just like, no, I don't. Starter pack, no.
Well, let's get into it. A starter pack meme is there's a good example that Daisy has. A starter pack meme is an example of all of like the prototypical or stereotypical things that like a person, either like a job or a hobby, would be into. I believe created by Jack Wagner, come on the show, host of a podcast about Memoritz. But these a lot of fun on Instagram, but Daisy realized they can make them fast on their computer live with a template, and we want you to make a starter pack about yourself. Daisy, you got the template loaded?
Yes, I do. So we have a couple examples. Like we had somebody do an environmental futurism one, and we thought it would be fun for you to help us walk through a Southwest Folklife starter pack. So if you're thinking about Folklife in the Southwest of the United States, what would you include? And these are all sort of suggestions more than they are necessities. You could be like, I don't know, a celebrity, whatever, there's nobody here or whatever. You can really make this what you want. You can change the background. We can change the font. But I can pretty well curate some images for us if you'd like to help make this.
Well, We need a lowrider car.
Okay, all right. Let me grab a lowrider.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, lowrider car. Let me see. What's like a good? Here's like a good. How about a blue one? Do you have a color aesthetic in
Oh,
mind?
it's got to be wine, right?
Oh, a wine color one.
Blue's fine. What do you find? Blue's fine. You're probably pulling it right from our archive. Any colors?
Do you know, Kimmy? Do you know Langston Wilkins?
Here's a good lowrider.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. He said when he was on our show, nominee for episode of the year in 2023. He said that his favorite shade of slab was wine. So I thought you said lowrider, and you said lowrider, and I went, oh, wine color. It's got to be wine color.
All right, we definitely got to have one of these guys on here, and I can move them around, and I can change the. You know, we'll make it aesthetic. Yeah, but
I think for the quote would be but it's a dry heat.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's so good.
Oh my god, can you camel case that?
I'll do my best.
Wow, what did you call that?
Camel case?
Camel case.
Candle case.
No,
camel.
Like humps on a camelback.
Yeah.
Camel.
Yeah, like a
the way to spell sarcasm.
Yeah.
So good. I love that. With Comic Sans would be good.
Okay, let's do it. Well,
we can do it.
I know
we got you. Still got you.
Okay, I got some silly fonts here. You can probably see them on our screen. I don't know if the people can see them. I don't know if I have Comic Sans.
No, people can't see them. It'll just show up.
Yeah, they'll show up. Don't worry. Let me see if I have Comic Sans. I don't think I have it on this one, but I do have some silly ones.
Okay.
I got some silly ones.
I mean,
what about that?
The camel caps is good. Camel case.
Let's try it. I gotta have one that does a good example of the.
Oh, I can look it up for you.
Yeah, like what's like the analogous one in this program? We'll find it. That's pretty silly too, honestly.
So I think for landscape environment, we definitely would need a saguaro cactus.
Oh, of course, we need a cactus. But not just any cactus.
No, a saguaro. SAGUARO.
Saguaro.
G and then Oh, here's a real good one. That looks pretty classic.
Good. Yeah.
And I can like layer these two. This can come all the way up here.
Okay. This is great.
Yeah. I'll put this on top of that. Let's see. I can.
I think for food.
Remove background on it too.
Wow, you can just take away the background. That's so cool. What are you in Adobe?
I'm in Adobe. It's called now Adobe Express.
Okay. Wow, that's so fast.
So they're a wizard. This is how wizards get made on Instagram. They're a dang wizard, folks.
I think a snack. The snack would be like probably the taco, and also like a raspado, which is like a shaved ice thing.
Ooh.
Is it R-U or is it R-E? Raspado. Okay.
R-A. Raspado.
I wonder if it'll even. Okay, I'll find it. I'll find it somewhere else.
With a D. R-A-S-P-A-D-O.
Got it. I'm looking at. I'm sort of combining two different search engines here, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Here's a good. This is a nice one because this is a very like folklore image.
You know, Kimmy, I wrote my dissertation about hot dogs, and I was really hoping you were going to say a Sonoran dog, but
well, we could put the Sonoran hot dog in instead of the taco. Yeah. What did you include the Sonoran hot dog in your dissertation?
Wasn't really in the scope of what I was looking for, but it came up in preliminary research.
Wow, the hot dog. What an icon of Americana.
Exactly.
The processed food.
Oh, it's just the tacos. I love that.
Cool.
We'll leave the drinks as drinks. So Fit Check is like that's like your outfit, like what clothes you would wear.
Oh.
That's like what clothes do people in the Southwest
Your
wear?
folk costume, as it
Yeah.
were.
Well, I mean, like the first place I went was rather than every day. It's like we'll see people like getting their burritos or pumping their gas in their mariachi, in their mariachi gear. So
Okay.
they're like it's black suit. It's got these like the silver plata down the.
Yeah.
I got
So if
you.
you type in mariachi, it's like not everybody. Obviously, like I don't wear
Yes.
that, but I'm not a mariachi, but
this particular document is all about kind of joking about commonalities or stereotypes a little bit too. So
yeah,
like everybody's saying it's a dry heat. Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it is really wonderful when you see the musicians not playing music and just kind of like in the grocery store. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. We also have like a book cover. If there's like a book cover or album art, these can be either or. Album art being like music cover art. If there's like an album, you always hear like a particular kind of music or.
Right.
And then we also
have
celebrities.
I'm kind of thinking of that like ridiculous. It's kind of more Texas often, but like you'll hear it in the movies, and it's that.
Oh yes,
like
was the good, the bad, and the ugly?
That, like,
right?
It's like that. It's like you're in the Southwest when it.
Yeah,
It's like a rattlesnake. I don't know what that is, but and I don't know how to like.
I'm gonna look.
It's a sound file versus like.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
I know what you're talking about. I'm gonna look it up.
Do you know what I mean, though? It's like it's the indicator that you're like in. Yeah.
Yeah. Disney, are you ready to go for the good, the bad, and the ugly theme?
Yeah, I was just thinking. Here's like the LP art for that.
Oh no. Oh wow, that's beautiful. I want that album. Damn.
Okay, cool. And then I think you're totally spot on with that. And then maybe celebrity inspo, although it does not need to be. If you think this is if we're missing anything also here, like
I feel like you need a sun, like you need a sun and a like a rattlesnake and or a coyote house at the moon.
You're so right. I'll just type in coyote on this.
Since we've been on the coyote theme.
Yeah, true.
We might as well like throw it in there. You could get one howling.
Here we go.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Hey!
Yes. Thank you. I'm so happy now.
Yeah. Here, I'll put him right by the cactus too. Something like this.
This is great. I love this.
Is there?
Do we have a celebrity? Because I have an idea for a celebrity.
Oh, I don't know.
Who do you think?
Yeah, who do you think?
Rest in peace, Big Jim.
Aww.
Yeah.
What was his last name? Jim.
That's beautiful. Jim Griffith.
Griffith. Yeah.
Aww. Jim Griffith.
I saw him talk at AFS in Santa Fe, and it was one of those things where you check your phone, you're like, how has it been an hour? I have not like broken like eye contact from the podium, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah. Did you find something?
I think I got it. I'm trying to choose the picture. There's a lot of good ones. How about this one? He's got a nice cowboy hat on.
Oh, he always did.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's great.
Aww. Okay.
For Southwest Folklife, I mean, you can't go wrong having
exactly.
That's great.
I'm just gonna remove the text in the background because I can't see it and it doesn't matter anymore. I am going to scoot all of this stuff around though. And what do you think about the color for the background? I know you mentioned a
Very
sun.
important.
I'm thinking like.
Yeah,
what do you want me to
yellow.
Get like? What do you want me to get like a gradient going here?
Like gold.
Okay, let's see. Okay.
Maybe like
can you get a gradient? Yeah, like a sunrise thing.
I think we can get even like
sunset.
A sunset.
Let me see. Hold up.
They're really good at this, Kimmy. They're really good at this now.
Yeah, this is so entertaining.
It really is.
Oh man, what do you think? Like
Oh,
that?
yeah.
No, that's a little. Hold on, wait. What if we
Move it up, move it down or something.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know if it's let me do that. How about like?
Okay, the teal's pretty good.
That's better.
Ooh,
That's better.
I like
think
that.
it's
Pretty good,
darker
yeah.
somehow. Or like, oh, well, here we go. It's like
There.
it's got a road on it
Yeah,
too.
that's Monument Valley though.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that good?
Well, that's a little less accurate, but that'll
That's
work.
fair. Here,
That'll work.
let's see. Let's just do a regular sunset then. I want to get this as. No, that's a
Because
little.
you wouldn't see, yeah, like, now I'm getting particular, like you wouldn't see sunset
That's
where you
better.
have the Monument Valley. That's better. I
think-
like that.
I got.
Oh, that's a good. Oh, wow. That's
gotta-
insider knowledge.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, this is kind of wild.
Well, people always put them together,
yes.
you know, or like they'll stick a cactus, like not like they'll stick a saguaro cactus
Oh.
outside of the Sonoran Desert. which is,
Yeah,
like,
you're like,
Oops.
okay.
Not where
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah, you're like, that's not where that's from. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very fair. I'm gonna see if
I
I
like
can
that.
like, if I can like lower contrast.
Can you make like the Can you make like the
lower
font
contrast?
make the font white or tan
There
or something?
there we go. Oh, and then I think I
There
was
you
gonna go
go.
like a little more.
Oh, it stands out a lot
saturated.
more.
Yeah, that's better. I can also change the color of the font too, but I think wow. Okay, so let
What
me
about
put-
like papyrus font for title or something?
I was just thinking. Okay, I was like, I didn't want to say papyrus, but I
Wow,
think
that's the second thing you've said that's made me think of Avatar 2, Kimmy. First it was making eye
fancy.
contact with a whale, and now it's papyrus font for the
Oh
title.
man, we don't have papyrus. We have that.
Oh, you don't have it.
Oh yeah, Adobe's got proprietary
Adobe, they have
fonts.
yeah, they have like proprietary ones. Is that more? How about like a
Yeah, that's fine.
signature like that? Maybe
Do you
is
see
better.
Rosemary? Do you see Rosemary?
Like the font Rosemary.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got
Oh.
Rosella.
Oh, Rosella, never mind.
Honestly, though, Rosella does kind of look like we could do
Yeah,
like this,
works.
and then we can go like that, and something like,
I like
this.
it.
And
I
I'll
think
make
change the
it.
color.
Yeah, I'll just change the color to like I don't know, like orange. Oh, not just that.
Okay.
Oops.
Yeah, bright orange.
Yeah, that way it'll kind of match the bottom part. Maybe I can like.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, maybe I can like make it like. What is this, deco? What does that mean? Okay.
Solid.
So,
Yeah.
I think
That's
that's inline.
Yep.
That's a little better. Yeah, we can see it, and then I'll move this stuff down. It doesn't all have to be, up there. Okay, this is this is looking really good. I think I'm gonna make our tasty little snacks a little more like this. Like we'll put Big Jim.
Yeah.
Get Jim up here.
bigger.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I think
Large man. Large James.
car back there is kind of fun, and I
That's
don't know,
great in
maybe,
the
like,
back.
Yeah,
That's
like
great.
something like that.
That's
and then
good, yeah.
this I think should be like.
Can you flip the coyote?
Can I
Can you
what?
flip the coyote so that we can
Oh,
see his
yeah.
howl? Can you like
Yes.
reverse him so
You
he
can.
can he can be howling
Yes.
up the
Yes.
cactus?
Look at
Yeah.
that.
One
That looks-
click.
That's great. And then I think this is good. We can put it like.
Make that
maybe
white.
that's too big. Yeah,
Make that
I
white,
could-
maybe.
Yeah, maybe I'll see if we'll see if white works. and we can Make
hilarious.
this like an off-white if we want. Make it like a sandy color, maybe.
Great.
Yeah.
We go like this, and it's like more of a
Ooh.
sand. It's so
Oh.
hard to see. What if I do?
Oh.
What if I put like a shape behind it that's like a little bit opaque?
Yeah.
Let's do
Yeah.
that. And we'll make the text fill like white. And
God, you're fast at this.
I've been practicing.
They're really good.
I've been
I see
practicing.
that.
I'm practicing. White might be the wrong
That's
fill
good.
now, but what if we do like? What if I make it like a little darker than sand? Like a. Oh wait, hold on. That messes up my whole thing. What am I doing? What am I thinking? Hold on. Okay, wait. We can go back. It's a little darker. It could be like a more of a brown or something.
Yeah.
Something like that, but
Yeah.
it's a dry heat,
That's
and
good.
we can sort of make it.
That's good up there, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, this
Yeah.
is pretty good.
That's so
Chat
good.
loves the floating
Love
celestial.
it.
Oh, chat. Yeah. Chat wants you to rotate the lowrider so it's taking off into the sky.
Yeah,
You want me to take it like this?
Yep.
Oh,
I love
this
that.
is so cute.
I love that the chat is telling us what to do.
I know,
That's their job.
That's the fun part. Yeah.
We
That's
work
really
for
good.
them.
Yeah.
They totally get all the sounds. The bow wow 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 bow, all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
good. That is the sound of my childhood.
Oh, I can also put, but it's a dry heat down here. That might be
I
better.
think at the bottom. Yeah.
Okay, what if I make it just a little?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'm getting too picky now.
That's
You
good.
posting this later?
I think we should. How about we do this?
Yeah, I need to
That's a
have
little better.
this for my
Yeah, I'm
I
like,
need-
do you
I
want
need to give
this
to my
for?
colleagues.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
do you want
please.
this for for Borderlore or whatever? That's
Yeah.
pretty good. Wow,
Totally.
this looks super cute.
Hell yeah.
I'll make
For our social media.
yeah for
Yeah.
real, but it's a dry heat. That's pretty good.
Who's drawing heat?
This guy.
Oh, I forgot he was just a torso. You hit him so well behind the coyote.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, he's just a torso over there. Maybe I'll put the tacos in front of Big Jim's hat. Kind of hide that little detail. I'm getting too picky now. Okay, this is so cute.
This is a masterpiece, Days.
This is a pretty good one.
Great.
Wow, this is so cute. Aw, thank you for all of your suggestions, helping bring this
good.
beautiful Southwest depiction to life. I think this is great. Wow.
So
Okay,
good.
I'm gonna go ahead and flip over here. Wow, I don't know. No notes. It looks great. I will totally save
So
this.
good.
I'll
And
totally
Jim,
send this to you.
That was
Yeah.
such a good suggestion, Dom. I'm so happy that you thought of Jim.
Aw, it's good. I know, it was like maybe like a piece of turquoise or something, but I think that the background kind of does the color capture of the gem itself, you know, and wow, this is really good.
It does.
Okay. All right, I'm going to scoot back to a screen where it's just you and me, Kimmy, just to thank you so much. The chat, I think, is already excited and they kind of know what to do already, which is to send you ladder emotes or little emojis in the chat, which is kind of like their applause or their thank you. And chat, if you don't have those, you can put a GG's for good game. And Kimmy, thank you so much for spending the last like couple hours with us, just making stuff.
That was
and
super fun.
Yeah, and experiencing this with us and all that stuff. So this is your natural out.
Really
if you would
fun.
Oh, I'm glad you had fun.
Thank you.
I'm definitely sending this to you.
Yeah.
This is a very aesthetic one that we've created together. Yeah, and everybody's saying Death Lorist, Caitlin Kinney, who's also on our team, saying thank you for coming on the show. So
Okay.
she's here too, watching and saying hey.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thank you, Caitlin.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. This was
Thank you for
great.
coming on, Kimmy. This was great.
This
yeah.
was
Good night, you guys.
Yeah. Have a great night.
Quilts have helped me on many levels. Making quilts helped me to get a sense of my own space, sense of finding my way, sense of really working my way out of the labyrinth.